Hey everybody, this is Talkative Carl back again for a kind of a surprise discussion video that I was thinking about the other day. And it's like, I just feel the need to just get this out because it's like, uh, I don't know, it's just, when I'm at work and like some ideas, creativity kind of like just start, you know, uh, buzzing in my head. And I just had this notion about all like the best friend characters in Yu-Gi-Oh series, and like they always do like new generations and what have you. And I always been thinking like, could they easily have done like a spin-off of a character that we already knew and familiar with, and made him like the protagonist of his own show, uh, a la like the Buzz Lightyear anime movie that's coming out, or like the Loki series, or you know, it just I thought, I mean, like I was at first toying with the notion of bringing up, hey Crystal, I was toying with the notion of bringing up maybe like all the best friend characters, but I didn't want to let it drag on for too long. But then it came down to like, okay, maybe just who deserves more between like maybe Crow Hogan and Joey Wheeler. But I just figure Joey is the veteran, like best friend out of the Yu-Gi-Oh franchise, and I feel that it'll behoove me if I just don't make it just a Joey centered video, because Joey Wheeler probably has, even like, it's, you can argue that he probably has like the best character arc throughout the entire series. I mean, honestly, uh, I mean, like in just like a brief backtrack. I mean, like as I mentioned on my other videos when I was playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Legacy of the Duelist gameplays, which you can check out on my YouTube channel anytime. And I've done a few videos with Joey Wheeler's deck, and I mentioned briefly about like how cool he is. But yeah, it's just like, I mean, from the very beginning, he was like, prior to the whole story even beginning, he was a bully to Yugi, until Yugi stood up for him from an even bigger bully. And then like he started to befriend him, and then uh you know the whole ordeal with Yugi's grandpa going to Duelist Kingdom, and then realizing his sister needed eye surgery, sister Serenity needed eye surgery. They gave him motivation to join this tournament, but he also had like a caught an interest in duel monsters thanks to Yugi, and and like learning from him and Yugi's grandpa how to play the game, and even like from how Duelist Kingdom started, where even when it was on that boat going to Duelist Kingdom, Joey's deck was just filled with a bunch of monsters because he was such a noob that he figured like, okay, it's about power and just being the strongest one in order to like just outpower somebody. Well, even consideration about utilizing magic and trap cards to complement the monsters, because like it's been a minute, but I do remember Yugi mentions like, this is just, you can't just play the game with just a deck full of monsters. It's not going to be a very balanced deck. You'll get trashed every time because you have no support to back up your monsters. I mean, can you imagine trying to play a deck for just monsters? I mean, technically, if it wasn't until the super heavy samurai deck later on in Zexo, no, not Zexo, Arc 5, before that, Gong, the character Gong in Arc 5, prior to that, there has never been a deck that worked without the help of magic and trap cards. He was the first, after so many years of the Yu-Gi-Oh series going on, that he was it was the first deck archetype that utilizes a deck that cannot work with a magic and trap card inside. It has to be plain old monsters, with certain monsters acting as equips to simulate magic cards in a way, uh, or utilize effects similar to how magic cards work. But prior to that, you cannot play a deck with just monsters. It cannot work normally. Uh, but then, after Yugi's and Grandpa's advice, he started adding, a few magic and trap cards here and there. But if you look it up, Joey's deck in the Duel Monsters arc, it's very few. He just repeats utilizing. At that time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monster cards were fairly new. It wasn't until maybe halfway or getting towards the end of the Duelist Kingdom arc when realistically the cards starting to be a thing. So, Joey's deck, in the anime, didn't have that much magic or trap cards to utilize, but until which shows the growth of the character. He utilizes timers it a lot, and shield and sword, grave robber, kunai with chain, polymerization. But yeah, this is very, very few magic and trap cards he had in his deck during this period. But it still helped him somewhat. It's better than what he previously had. And it's amazing that it got him so far up to the semifinals of the Duelist Kingdom. But, fast forward to Battle City, where there was a significant change in Joey's deck. And then, this is the period when he, Yugi gave him his prize money to utilize to pay for his sister's eye surgery. Now, if you recall in the manga, I think obviously the parents divorced, but I could be wrong. I barely remember how the manga operated, but I'm fairly certain that Joey's father, kind of beat him, I think. I could be wrong. You can correct me on that, which could explain why him and Tristan's behavior, because Tristan always backs up Joey, but it's just, he was acting punkish behavior because hurt people. He was, kind of abused as a kid, I believe. And it didn't help with his parents divorcing and one parent taking the one child and the other parent, the mother taking the daughter and the father taking the son kind of situation. I could be wrong about the beating thing, but the divorce thing did not help. He, was lashing out, so he decided to become a bully until Yugi came along and showed him what true friendship is, and they kind of turned him around. Now they in the Duelist Kingdom arc, Battle City arc, you can see when he acquired Red Eyes Black Dragon from Rex Raptor, which was a pivotal moment in Joey's this at least a handful of Joey's more very defining duels. This was the first that really showed Joey's character, that Mai being kind of a rival / antagonist during this period in time, had Joey duel Rex Raptor. But Mai, as a contingency, wanted to make sure that Yugi and none of his friends gave him any backseat dueling. He has to which I know she was being kind of an ass, but I think Mai, even though she probably did not know it at that time, she kind of really did Joey a huge favor. The fact that, you know, it's kind of like when you're teaching a kid how to ride a bike. At a certain point, you have to take the training wheels off, and you have to let go and let them, you know, ride. Sometimes they'll fall down, but they'll learn to, you know, you be there to pick them back up. But you have to make sure that they get back on their, you know, bike again. And that's what, you know, pretty much this duel was about. Joey had to stand on his own 2 feet, and Tristan actually had to learn something like that because he was, you know, kind of like, you know, putting Joey, I wouldn't say putting Joey down, but kind of like he was trying to be his friend, but in a probably like a wrong way by just always having to step in for Joey, thinking that he can't handle himself. Like even telling after he getting hit by Joey, he storms off, and Yugi has to remind Tristan, like, you know, Joey has to. Sometimes Joey has to handle things on his own. We cannot always be there. We cannot always hold his hand. All he needs from us to know is that he still has our support. And it's like, you know, it's part of growing up. Like, you know, that's why Joey's a great character. And it's why Red Eyes is so pivotal. Like, you know, Red Eyes Black Dragon, compliments Joey because it's a creature that represents, butchering this, but like the potential of, great power and strength. And, Joey kind of, represents that so much great potential that, is waiting to unlock. And when you get to Battle City, before you get into that, when Joey beat Rex in his duel by himself with zero, advice, and is relying on his own brain to figure out to outduel this opponent, it was a stepping stone. It was like I remember, me and my little brother and my cousin, we were sitting there watching this episode, and like just like with Yugen and like Tristan and Taya, we was like happy, like, yeah, you go, Joey. Yeah, it's like, he managed to deal with this on his own and come out on top. I mean, it's like you will still had respected the man because Joey is a man of principle and honor. He has a lot of bravado, but he has guts, which we'll get to with whole Kaiba relationship soon. But it shows the measure of this man, the fact that even if he loses, he still earned your respect. He can lose with dignity too, as long as the opponent's not a complete ass or just an evil person. When we get to Battle City, you get to see another change in his deck when it's like the evolution. It's like he has to add more magic and trap cards to this deck to increase a lot of his creatures' power and supply himself with resources or even stalling. This is where you get his the first time he utilizes a luck based deck. And when you see his deck in action from this moment going forward into the franchise, it gets you hyped, because it's like when you see him utilize certain cards that just get some lucky ass like dice rolls or flipping coins, it blows your mind every time you see it, just like how freaking lucky he gets. As long as it's like the opponent's not cheating, it blows your mind how wild his luck can get. It's like aside from the graceful dice and skull dice and roulette spider cards, there's like a trap card. That's probably my favorite scene of Joey utilizing like extreme luck. is like this trap card. I don't think is like a real card. I could be wrong. It might have be a real card by this point, but I don't know. But it's trap card that he utilizes a couple of times during the Awakening of the Dragons arc, called Confiscation of Mediation, I think it's called. And what the trap card does is that once the opponent calls an attack, you negate the attack. This trap card is shuffled between two magic and trap cards in the opponent's graveyard and placed face down on the opponent's side of the field. And it's up to Joey or whomever's playing that trap card to pick one of the face downs. And if it's confiscation mediation, then the battle phase ends, and then the opponent's turn completely ends, and just goes back to Joey's turn. But there's two drawbacks, which I could be wrong on one of them. But one drawback, even if Joey wins out in the choice, the opponent gets back whatever magic and trap card they chose from their graveyard to utilize next turn if they so choose to. But if Joey picked wrong, then the attack continues. But I just don't remember if the opponent still gets their magic and trap cards back in their hand, or they just go back to the graveyard because he chose wrong. I don't 100% know on that one. I believe they still get it back, but that was probably my favorite moments of seeing Joey's luck just play out in his favor. Just wild luck. And to this day, I still remember how my mind was just blown, because I was like, my gut was like in knots, like, come on, pick that freaking right one, come on. And it slowly lifts up, and you see that trap card is like, yeah, you lucky bastard, yes. But yeah, it's just awesome scenes like that. And during the Battle City arc, you get to see Joey making sure like he's there for his friend, dealing with like the Red Hunters and Merrick, and like you see like their friendship really are put to the, not want to say put to the test, but it's like really showed when Merrick ended up taking over Joey's mind and trying to duel his friend, forcing Yugi to throw the match or not play to his fullest because he's doing with his friend, and he's just like, it's not just like a friendly match. This is like a serious stakes, and if he beats Joey, his mind goes to the Shadow Realm, and he's caught in between a rock and a hard place because he will end up losing the Pharaoh and the puzzle, and his mind will probably go to his. No, I think his mind. Well, I don't think about the mind going to the Shadow Realm, but they're handcuffed, or at least ankle cuff to this anchor that will drop when a timer goes out, and like drag either both of them if neither one plays until before the time runs out, or one has to lose so that way the other the winner can unlock themselves while the loser drowns. And it was like extremely high stakes. It was like when I first saw this, my immediate thought was like, God damn, it's just a game. What the fuck, man? It was like it was that serious, and my mind was just like, I was on the edge of my seat, because it was like, this is like, I mean, there's been serious duels prior to this, but this is like, because you forget how intense you think it's just a regular card game, but it's not. This is like really, really like, because if you ever seen like Yu-Gi-Oh! Zero, you can tell how hardcore Yu-Gi-Oh! Can be, but this is probably like, sometimes they really push the whole the rating on this anime to is as close as they can without ruin the censorship for the viewing kid audience. But I grew up in the '90s and seen plenty of stuff that's kind of like cartoons that kind of pushes that envelope, so it doesn't really bother me so much. But like I think this is one of the few animes that I watched growing up at that time that kind of like you know it's all fun and games, but it's like they can get serious too. And like this really kind of like put me in like, okay, this is not like a fun. I mean, I'm still like highly entertained, but I'm like focused on like, okay, this is getting serious now, and somebody needs to freaking stop this because like it's just like with like the whole Arcana and Yugi duel when it's like literally our hand is pretty much like if you watch Yu-Gi-Oh season 0, you can get like Saw, like the Saw movies, and you can get intense like that where they're literally cuffed to like the wall and like buzzsaws whirling towards them every time they lose any bit of life points, causing the loser to get their feet cut off. I mean, like, whoa, like Jesus, y'all playing this very, very, very seriously. And people talking about the Squid Games and this or that and the other. I'm not watching Squid Games. I don't give a damn about Squid Games. But you forget, Squid Games, is fairly new, or at least been created by like a year or two ago. There's been plenty of shows, especially anime, that dealt with something very similar, but or even movies had dealt with this kind of tone before. It's not really anything new or surprising. And just seeing like episodes like this when they can get very serious, especially I think the Awakening of the Dragons are is pretty good, but I think Battle City, onward to its finale, I think that was the more intense season out of all the Duel Monsters seasons. Yeah, Battle City, moving forward with like the Merrick arc and everything like that. Those are the most intense scenes. The intense, half the like at least a good handful or at least half of the episodes are pushing the envelope pretty good. But anyway, once Joey had reached the point of the semifinals, you get this big. I mean, like even before the semifinals. Well, no, the semifinals. Yeah, I got it right. The semifinals when they're on that blimp and he's like dueling Odeon, who's pretending to be Merrick, and like he summoned the Egyptian god card, but he's not one of the inner circle or bloodlines of of that ilk in like the ancient past. So him utilizing Egyptian god card of anybody who's not part of that bloodline, like like the Tomb Keepers, like Merrick, or even Yugi's direct bloodline, you can't wield any Egyptian god cards. You will die, or if you're lucky, ironically, you might just end up going comatose, like Odeon and did, or you just go insane. One of the three. Luckily, Odeon, I think he has, just by, because if I looked it up, I'm pretty sure he's related by distant cousins kind of relations to the Tomb Keepers, but he's just enough to where it's like he's not like truly part of them, but just enough to where it's like, yeah, but I'm still going to give you put you in a coma because like you're not that close. So Joey gets shocked too because all this lightning being struck around, and like Joey, just out of sheer like guts and determination and just overall willpower, because since they both knocked out, Kaiba declares like whomever gets up first, they're gonna be the winner. and like Joey managed to stand up and and win the duel. But prior to that, it was like halfway through the match where Joey managed to summon all the cards he won off his opponents throughout the Battle City, and even Kaiba had to, I mean, slight props. He gives only slight props every once in a while. That like my tournament really improved Joey's deck. He managed to summon like not ultimate Great Moth, Insect Queen, uh, uh, legendary fisherman, and Jinzo, all on the field at the same time, to really like, in that moment, you really cheer for Joey. Like, this is the moment like shows that he's come far. The fact that because I don't think anybody, but him throughout this tournament has managed to summon. Even Yugi didn't. I think like Egyptian god cards, I guess, counts. But Joey managed to summon all three of his cards that he won throughout this entire tournament in one turn, and you get to see like the kind of like faces of each person who was the previous owner, Weevil, Mako, and Esperoba, and it's like you get like a tingly feeling, stomach, just the sense of pride in Joey. Like you like you hope he like really like starts mopping the floor with this guy now, because even though they're not like very balanced kind of monsters, but the fact that he had him in his deck and just eventually just kept Jinzo, he left the other two out, but the fact that you get to see him play those cards and see how like each duel meant something to him, and like I'm utilizing each card that I won to symbolize that. That is awesome to me. Then you go to like the finals when like further along when Mai's dueling the real Merrick, and he's insane at this point. And then when she's about to lose, Joey did not hesitate to climb up there and try to get her unhooked from like the grasp of Merrick's monster cards, his little handcuff things, and like he's calling out his attack from his Winged Dragon of Ra, and Joey just is not budging. He's like going to tank that blast. He doesn't care, but until like Yamayugi had to jump in and take the full blast, because he's the only one who can actually take it. It's still put him down, but he's alive, protecting Joey and Mai, even though Mai still lost and her mind went to the Shadow Realm because of it. But the fact that Joey, makes him a hero in a way. It's like, what's a perfect example of a selfless person than a person who's willing to jump in front of a dragon's blast, just to help his dearest friend, obvious love interest, but he didn't hesitate to jump up there and like put himself in harm's way just to get her unhooked. He didn't care how or what happened to him. He just want to make sure that Mai is safe. And like I said, that shows great character on his part. Then of course when like doing like the battle between Joey and Merrick, this one is like, even though we knew in a way, it had to be down to Merrick and Yugi, but I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. I could be forgetting something, but to my knowledge, especially when I first saw this when it aired, to my knowledge, I have never witnessed an anime or probably like a show in general to see like a best friend or a sidekick or partner, whatever, managed to come close to defeating the main villain. If he managed to actually call out his Gear-Freeze attack while Merrick pretty much, shot his load at Joey, pardon the innuendo, but the fact that, he took the blast, he eventually fainted, so he could not complete the attack, but the look on Merrick's face is like, how is he still standing? If he attacks, I will lose my life points and my Egyptian God card. And it's like, and it was all like rooting with Joey, like, call the attack, do it, call the attack, do it. You almost there, you got him. And like the fact that he fainted, it's like we was all in our jaws dropped. I was like, oh my God. And it's like he was that close. I don't think any anime had that moment with any, like, the best friend character managed to come close to. And it's like, it was like, oh my God. It's like, I understand by story reasons, but like, why'd y'all do this to us? The writer's like, why would you do this to us? Just the fact that you wrote that in a manga and then put it on TV, the fact that you just like, man, Joey is like such a badass. I mean, like, if there was like a what if type of like the Marvel's what if, like, what if Joey had called out the attack, he will be like an owner of an Egyptian God card. Then eventually it will come down in the finals between him and Yugi. And that will probably be just easily like a good rematch between them from Duelist Kingdom. But, man, it's like, that still had my jaws dropped. That was, it was an intense moment. And the fact that he was suffering from, like, essentially torture, because it was like a Shadow Realm duel, and like Joey's like, getting like, mentally and physically tortured by the Shadow Realm cast by Merrick and by his cards. But Joey managed to just hold on despite everything until just eventually he just succumbed to the wounds and just passed out. But then when he got up, out of his coma, he wanted like to duel against Kaiba, and he's finally like just had up to here with Kaiba's big talk, or just putting him down constantly. And it's like, because Kaiba by this point, especially after he lost against at least halfway through his duel with Yugi on top of the tower, it's like Kaiba's just like, I guess it's kind of still like the lingering feelings after the whole event with his, his virtual father and brother, stepbrother and what have you. And I think like all those memories are still lingering. And it's like, he's wanted just like the kind of like Kylo Ren. It's like, let the past die, kill it if you have to kind of attitude. And like he's putting everybody down. He's like saying just, like, and like, I just want to move on. I see the future. Like, I don't, and like Yugi is trying to inform him. It's like, it's our past that will shape our future. You cannot just completely ignore the past and what made you who you are. And like, and then he's putting down him and Joey, and he's still like, and then after Joey got a coma, he's still like talking crap about Joey, and Joey just had it up to here. And it's like, okay, you're talking all this big talk and you always put me down. Why don't you and I duel for the Battle of the Bronze? Let's see your big talk, and like, let's put up a shut up this time. And like, and they duel, and it's like there's certain moves that Joey could have easily done to, like, obviously he wasn't going to win, but he should have put him a better fight than he did with certain cards, even though Kaiba utilizes his crush card virus. Despite that, certain card plays he could have made to really like push Kaiba a little further. The fact that the same kind of push that he brought against Merrick, he should have done that same thing towards Kaiba. Uh, uh, but obviously wasn't going to win at the end. We all accepted that fact, but it's just that we expect a little bit more. But even still, like Kaiba is like, at a certain point, Kaiba should have, because Kaiba only respects people who have like significant skill, and he doesn't really view anybody but like Yugi and himself as superior duelists, because nobody else had any kind of like, because the character of Kaiba is kind of based off of Takuki Kakahashi. I'm butchering the name. Based off of a guy he met a long time ago, who he asked to teach him how to play a certain game, and the guy said, you can challenge me after you acquire this amount of many somethings, and like that rude behavior gave him the idea of how to create Kaiba, just an arrogant ass, a complete dick that is like only view exceptional people as worthy of his time. Even Kaiba had somewhat of an arc, throughout the entire series, where like even when you see him in certain episodes of GX, you see that he has like, he still has dickish behavior, but he's definitely not as much as he was in the past. He's definitely shown some growth. But yeah, along this way, I mean, like I figure by the end of the series, Joey should have earned Kaiba respect. Because especially by during like the World Championship tournament that Kaiba threw, Joey's definitely had like a more superior deck. Minus the fact that he did have Claw Hermos, but that eventually went away, so it's not part of his main deck anymore. But there's significant amount of cards that he utilizes, like the luck based cards, certain equipped magic cards, and like his strong monsters, or at least monsters with potential that he can make stronger to outmaneuver or outbeat his opponent's monsters, or at least catch them off guard with certain tricky maneuvers. And that's why I feel after the Duel Monsters part had ended, Joey, of course, in what was like Dark Side of Dimensions movie, Joey mentions that he wants to pursue, like, in a way, a career in gaming, like Duel Monsters, to go through more tournaments to like better himself. And like in GX, I eventually will get there. I'm pretty sure in season 2 when I get around to it. Pegasus has a few cameos in GX series, and he mentions who he clearly views as the top 4 duelists in his opinion, being the creator of Duel Monsters. His opinion is valid. Of course, is Yugi, number 1. 2 is Kaiba. 3 is Joey. And 4 is Aster Phoenix. But arguably, I'm pretty sure, long after this point, Jaden kind of shot up to number 4, and Aster Phoenix, went to number 5. But I'm not sure how that'll be an interesting duel to see, like how Joey's, prime at his prime deck go against Jaden Yuki's deck in its prime, like top, fully developed by the end of the series deck, and see how that plays out. But that says a lot coming from Pegasus, that Joey is number 3 in the world of dueling. And like, you see like a flashback, Joey possibly at a tournament, wearing like a red sleeveless shirt, and it's like he's like a little bit older, but you can tell that Joey is definitely has grown. And I figure if they make a show based off of Joey, I want it to be like starting off where he's like going to, because Yugi wants to like run a game shop like his grandfather. Teia's wants to be like a famous like a singer or dancer or something like that. And Tristan, I forgot what Tristan wanted to do, but like Joey wants to continue the Duel Monsters Pro Circuit kind of situation, and that'll be an interesting kind of show if it's just starting with Joey, with like his friends cameoing here and there, but just Joey being the main character, and knowing what we know about his past already, how his deck has evolved, and definitely can maybe like making like a 1 season or maybe 2 season thing, but showing Joey's deck, by the end of the Duel Monster series, at its peak, and then see how much that will grow from a series for with him at the center of it, where he has his own supporting cast of characters, him teaching some other newcomer what he knows about dueling from what he have learned from his teachings from Yugi's grandpa and Yugi himself. And it's like he's passing on the torch. He's become the mentor now. The student has become the master at this point, if you will. And I really would think that a Joey Center show will work phenomenally. I honestly believe that, and I'm curious to know what you guys think. Like, like how would like a Joey Center show or series play out? What kind of villain would he have to go up against? Possibly, it'll be kind of, well, I was about to say like the bully he had to deal with, prior to the Duel Monster series beginning, but in the manga he kind of went insane, went kind of like insane or died by Yami Yugi's hands in season 0. But someone similar to that, where it's just like it's nothing supernatural going on. It's just I don't know, some twisted version of Seto Kaiba that he has to like deal with in like a particular tournament and like take on and try to foil some kind of plans for kind of like world domination or something or other. And like to see, it'll be nice to see like maybe by, I don't know, halfway or through like the end of the season 1, where you can see like Kaiba showing up and Kaiba having like another rematch with Joey. And it all depends on how well it's written. But let's say if Joey just loses again, because it's Kaiba we're talking about, but this time Joey acquiring like better cards and utilizing better luck-based cards, and like better support, better monsters and stuff like that, and more experienced, really put Kaiba through the ringer here. And even though he might lose, it'll be nice, by at a certain point in the season, Kaiba, you can say something dickish at first, like, you think you had a chance against me? Huh. But I gotta say, you definitely improved a bit. Or something, just something, just give Joey a bone kind of situation, like, Joey's not butthurt about it like he usually, when he used to be when he was like younger. He's not, he still be kind of like a blowhard a bit, but more reserved of a blowhard like knowing his limitations, somewhat better than he used to, but he's still kind of like has that kind of big talk, kind of Brooklyn rage kind of attitude, and um uh but at this point he's like, you know, that was fun, Kaiba. And it's like he might say something snarky, but just understanding like they both kind of improved and it was like a fun duel, an honorable one, and like just you don't kind of like the anime thing when they one person walk by another person and they just don't face each other, they just back to back. One Kaiba just says just like a decent comment, like a compliment, and Joey gives like a sly smile, but you don't see his eyes, kind of cliche of an anime kind of trope. And this is like you get one of those moments. You get that moment. Just get that moment where Kaiba acknowledges. I think only in the Japanese sub, where in Battle City you got to hear something of a respect given towards Joey, but it'd be nice to have like an English version of that, and like where a lot of Joey fans and even a lot of Kaiba fans can appreciate this moment between these two that used to be at each other's throats a lot, or at least very antagonistic towards each other, and just be like a nice moment where Kaiba finally realized, he's not better than him, he's better than most. He can just say something like, well, you're better than most chumps. Something like that. Just like showing that he has earned his medal by Kaiba standards. And, that's what I want to say. Like it'd be cool to have like a Joey kind of show. And like, I'm not sure what kind of supporting characters are. Obviously there can't be a love interest, but definitely a return of Mai, and like showing them getting a little bit more serious, and finally probably share a kiss and everything like that. But then definitely have some kind of like a Cyrus Truesdale type of new best friend type of person that Joey mentors. Like not totally like Cyrus, because season 1 of GX, I mentioned, if you can check out my season 1 review of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, as one of the things I bring up, the fact that Cyrus is kind of like an annoying, kind of like a wimp. You can show him that he's, insecure of a character. I get that. But the fact that you made him so insecure to the point where he's kind of like a complete wuss, to the point where it makes Courage the Cowardly Dog and Scooby-Doo seem like Captain America, brave type by comparison, that is kind of unnerving. So I don't want to go that far, but something similar to like kind of like a Cyrus kind of character that Joey molds into a proper duelist by the end of this series. But yeah, let me know what you guys think of, like, how would you make a Joey center show, like how similar it is to mine, and like or what kind of villain that you want Joey to go up against. Maybe someone who kind of like negates, kind of like Solomon Moto in World Championship tournament, where he has certain cards that negates Joey's dice rolls. Something that kind of like maybe negates Joey's luck-based cards, is something that kind of like the way Bastion Mazawa in my season 1 review of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX, studies the playstyle of Jaden, and knowing that his signature move is always making fusion monsters, so negate polymerization, then he thought he negated completely Jaden's deck, but he just neutralized one path. He didn't realize Jaden had other ways of fusion summoning beyond polymerization. So the villain for Joey should be something similar, where he, by the end of the show, when he duels Joey, he at first kind of like negates a lot of Joey's luck-based cards, or limiting his access to Red Eyes Black Dragon, similar to how when Yugi dueled the first rare hunter, he had, all those copies of Exodia pieces in his deck, and Yugi utilized Chain Destruction trap card to neutralize all copies of Exodia pieces, so he wouldn't be able to use them in his hand. They all go directly to the graveyard, so making them completely useless. That can be a certain kind of struggle Joey can, try to overcome and try to worm his way around into summoning his red eyes in some fashion, or utilizing other ways of regaining his access to his luck-based cards. Or it's something similar how, like, when you duel against Valen, another pivotal duel where the character's not evil, but they both like have respect for each other. The fact that they both share a common interest, and but even throughout the duel, Joey actually gave Valen a real challenge, something that he didn't think he probably would ever get, because he always wins, and it's kind of like all nonchalant about it when it comes to dueling, because it's like, I'm going to beat these people anyway. I might as well have some fun with it. But this is one actually he mentions himself, like, look at me, I'm shaking. And it's like, Joey's really pushing his dueling limits, and utilizing those armor-based cards really, or even like the way Merrick did, really pushes his willpower to the limit. Something similar to any one of those would make it like a very interesting battle for like a proper antagonist for Joey. But leave a comment below if you're watching this on YouTube, what you think would have like a Joey centered show would be like in your eyes. Or if you have any other best friend or other supporting character in any one of the Yu-Gi-Oh franchises that you think would be a good like a spin-off character with their own show that it's not the main character, like even like a rival, like Chaz Princeton or Cyrus or Crow Hogan or something like that, which character you think can easily carry a show by themselves, and what kind of antagonists do you think they'll be proper for them to be up against? And don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. And I will see you all soon for more discussion videos and verses and other video game walkthroughs. I will eventually get around to playing Guardians of the Galaxy game for my Xbox Series S, but I'm probably going to have to wait until I get back from my Vegas trip next weekend. So maybe not, well, probably the day when I come back, but probably not until maybe later or something like that, where I start, because that entire week I'll be on vacation from my regular job, my day-to-day job, so that way I can just go full into spamming videos for you guys a lot. I'll have more time with all those. And follow me on the links in the description below, the Patreon, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, of course. And I will see you guys next time. Be safe and happy Halloween.